Dr. Jennifer Martinez adjusted the IV line for the third time in 10 minutes. Her movements were steady, careful, practiced. Room 405 was calm. The quiet beeping of a monitor, the slow breathing of a patient after routine surgery. Trauma Bay 3, car accident. Dr. Thompson's voice broke through the calm. Jennifer nodded, finished her task, and stepped into the hallway. But something felt off. Too many uniforms, too many serious faces moving with silent urgency when she pushed through the trauma doors. Her heart froze. On the gurney lay Lieutenant Colonel David Harrison, blood soaking his field dressings, his eyes sharp despite the pain. Marine Force Recon. She knew that look, that gear, and she knew him. "Jennifer," he whispered, gripping her wrist. "Thank God you're here, Doctor. What happened next shocked everyone in that hospital." Jennifer Martinez adjusted the IV line for the third time in 10 minutes. Her movements were steady, careful, and sure. Room 405 was calm. The only sounds, the steady beeping of a monitor and the slow breathing of Mrs. Rodriguez, recovering after routine surgery. Trauma Bay 3, car accident. Dr. Thompson's voice came through the intercom, sharp and commanding. Jennifer nodded, finished her work, and stepped into the hallway. But as soon as she did, she felt something wasn't right. The air seemed heavier, charged. Too many uniforms filled the corridor. Military officers moving quickly, their faces set and serious. It wasn't the kind of rush you saw after a car crash. This was different. She pushed open the trauma bay doors and stopped cold. On the gurney lay Lieutenant Colonel David Harrison. His uniform was half cut away, blood soaking through field dressings. His skin was pale, but his eyes, those sharp, watchful eyes, still scanned the room like a man used to danger. The tactical gear at his side, the way he carried himself even as he bled, told her all she needed to know. Marine Force Recon. And Jennifer knew him. Jennifer. His voice was rough, but when he saw her face, relief washed over his features. He grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "Thank God you're here, Doctor." Dr. Thompson glanced up from his initial exam, clearly irritated. "Nurse Martinez, prep him for surgery. Multiple penetrating wounds, possible internal bleeding." "Doctor?" The word rang in Jennifer's ears like an alarm. For 3 years, nobody here had known the truth. She had buried it, hidden it, lived quietly as a nurse. But Lieutenant Colonel Harrison remembered. "I need Dr. Martinez," he whispered, his voice weak but unshakable. "She's the only one who can save me." The entire room froze. Nurses exchanged nervous looks. Residents stopped in their tracks. Even Thompson hesitated, confusion on his face. "I'm sorry, Colonel," Thompson said firmly. "There's no Dr. Martinez here. This is Nurse Martinez, and I'm more than qualified. Now, stay still while I handle this." Harrison shook his head. His hand tightened around Jennifer's wrist. "No, I know what I'm saying. She pulled shrapnel out of me in Mosul. She saved my whole team. I need her." Jennifer felt her heart pounding. She had worked so hard to disappear, to be ordinary, to never again step into an operating room. But this man's words were pulling her back into a past she had sworn to leave behind. "Colonel," Thompson said, voice low but impatient, "you've lost a lot of blood. You're confused. Nurse Martinez will sedate you and I will operate." "I don't need sedation," Harrison rasped. His eyes stayed locked on Jennifer's. "I need the surgeon who kept me alive when I should have died. I need Dr. Martinez." Silence filled the trauma bay. Everyone's eyes turned toward her. Jennifer swallowed hard. "Lieutenant Colonel Harrison, Dr. Thompson is a skilled surgeon. You're in good hands." "Number." Harrison's voice cut through the room. Weak, but carrying the authority of a man who had commanded in battle. "Jennifer, I know why you're here. I know what happened overseas. But this is no time to hide." Thompson's frown deepened. What is he talking about? Jennifer's chest tightened. She had spent 3 years pretending to be someone else. But right now, the signs were clear. Harrison's blood pressure was crashing. His pulse was faint. His skin carried that grey tone she'd seen too many times in the field. Signs most doctors here wouldn't notice until it was too late. "Dr. Thompson," she said slowly, "his wounds are more dangerous than they appear." Thompson scoffed. "And how would you know that?" "You're a nurse." Jennifer's eyes flicked back to the colonel. He was watching her, pleading silently with his eyes. "Because those aren't simple penetrating wounds," Jennifer said, steady now. "They're from an IED. If you treat them as standard injuries, fragments could shift into his heart and he won't survive." Thompson's jaw tightened. "That's impossible for you to diagnose." Harrison coughed, his voice cracking but firm. "She's right. Mosul, 3 weeks ago. Shrapnel too deep to remove. In the field. We left them in place. And now they're moving." The room shifted. Nurses froze mid-motion. Residents stared. Even Thompson looked rattled. Jennifer's hands trembled just slightly. She hadn't been called doctor in years. She hadn't felt this weight in so long. But before anyone could react further, the monitor shrieked. "Flatline! Code blue!" A resident shouted. Jennifer moved before anyone else. She pressed her hands to the right points, her voice calm, controlled. "Start compressions." She stopped herself, corrected. "Dr. Thompson, start compressions." He obeyed, but his eyes didn't leave her. 2 milligrams. Epinephrine, Jennifer ordered, already preparing the syringe. Years of battlefield medicine flowed back like muscle memory. Every second mattered. The monitor beeped again. A rhythm returned, weak but steady. Harrison's eyes opened, cloudy but focused. He reached for Jennifer's wrist again. "Doc, the fragments, they're moving. I can feel them." Her eyes darted to the screen, reading subtle changes only she would catch. He was right. The metal was shifting toward his heart. "Dr. Thompson," Jennifer said firmly, "he can't be moved into standard position. If you try, he'll bleed out on the table. He must stay exactly like this." Thompson glared. "And how do you know that?" Jennifer met his eyes steady now. "Because I've seen it before, 17 times. Iraq, Syria. If you reposition him, he will die." Harrison's voice cracked as he forced out the words. "She's not just a nurse. She's Dr. Jennifer Martinez, combat surgeon, 51 lives saved under fire. Best there was." His breath grew ragged. "She's the only one who can save me now." Every eye in the room was back on her. The truth she had buried was standing in plain sight. Thompson's face shifted. Confusion, resistance, disbelief. Then, finally, he asked the question she dreaded most. "Is that true?" Jennifer's throat tightened. For 3 years she had denied it. For 3 years she had lived as someone else. But now, with Harrison slipping away, she couldn't hide anymore. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Yes, it's true." The room went silent. And in that silence, Jennifer knew everything had just changed, Doctor. Thompson's eyes stayed locked on Jennifer. The trauma bay had gone silent, everyone waiting for her answer. She had given it. Yes, she was Dr. Jennifer Martinez. The words felt heavy, like lifting a stone she had buried deep inside for years. She could see the disbelief on Thompson's face, the shock on the residents, the curiosity in the nurses. For 3 years, she had been invisible. That moment made her visible again, and there was no turning back. Harrison's weak voice dragged them all back to reality. "The fragments, they're close to my heart. You don't have time to argue. Let her lead." Thompson hesitated. "If what you're saying is true, then every second matters." He looked at Jennifer, jaw tight. "Fine. Walk me through what you know." Jennifer stepped closer, her eyes focused on the monitor. The blast pattern forced the fragments in sequence, the smallest first, then the larger pieces. If we remove them in the wrong order, he won't survive. His body has adapted to their positions. Move one incorrectly and his heart wall will tear. The residents exchanged nervous looks. They had never heard anyone talk like this. Not in textbooks, not in lectures. This was knowledge earned in the worst conditions on Earth. Thompson exhaled, the fight still in his eyes, but tempered by something else. Respect. Then you assist me in the OR. Jennifer shook her head. No, this isn't a normal surgery. He'll need precise positioning, exact angles. It's delicate. I've done this before dozens of times. If you want him alive, I need full control. The tension in the room thickened. Thompson's hands flexed at his sides, his pride at war with reality. The monitors beeped again, a harsh reminder that time was running out. Finally, he spoke. If I hand this to you and something goes wrong, it's both our careers. But if I don't, he dies. Jennifer nodded once. That's the truth. The silence stretched, and then Thompson gave the smallest of nods. Fine. You lead. I'll assist. The room moved at once, energy snapping back into motion. Nurses rushed to prepare. Residents grabbed supplies. The gurney was pushed toward the operating room. Jennifer scrubbed in, the familiar ritual flooding back with painful clarity. The cold water, the brush against her skin, the mask over her face. It all came back too easily. She glanced across the sink. Thompson was watching her, not with disdain now, but with curiosity. You've been working in my hospital for 3 years? How did no one ever know? Because, Jennifer said without looking up, the records you checked were altered. My medical degree, my service history, it's all classified. Classified? Thompson frowned. By who? Jennifer dried her hands, met his eyes. By people higher than either of us. The Department of Defense, the Marine Corps. The OR door swung open, and they stepped inside. The team was already assembled, eyes wide with both nerves and anticipation. Jennifer moved to the table. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison lay pale, his life measured in weak heartbeats. She felt her focus tighten, shutting out everything else. For the first time in 3 years, she wasn't Nurse Martinez. She was Dr. Martinez again. Scalpel, she said. The instrument was placed in her hand. Her movements were steady, her incision clean. Gasps rose quietly from the residents watching. This wasn't the hesitant cut of someone who hadn't practiced in years. This was precision born from experience, from impossible choices under fire. Retractor. The view of the surgical field opened, exposing the twisted path of metal that had torn through Harrison's body. Jennifer leaned closer, her eyes sharp. There, she pointed, 3 fragments, one by the rib, one near the lung lining, and the largest by the heart. Thompson peered in. I've never seen anything like this. Pray, you never do, Jennifer replied, her voice flat. The first fragment was small, almost hidden against the rib. Jennifer guided the instruments with careful control, sliding the piece free without disturbing surrounding tissue. She placed it in the tray with a soft metallic clink. Perfect, Thompson murmured, more to himself than to her. The second was worse, larger, irregular, pressing against the lung. The room held its breath as Jennifer worked, each movement exact. The slightest slip could collapse the lung. Her hand never shook. Finally, the fragment came free, another clink in the tray. Harrison's vitals fluttered but steadied. Now, the big one, Jennifer said quietly. The last fragment sat dangerously close to the heart wall. Each beat shifted it slightly, threatening to puncture something vital. Thompson swallowed hard. Are you sure about this approach? Jennifer didn't look up. I've done this 32 times, lost 3, all because conditions were worse than this. Here, with proper equipment, he has a chance. The room seemed to shrink to just her, the instruments and the steady beating heart. She adjusted her angle, slid the fragment free, and lifted it into view. The monitors steadied. Harrison's skin gained the faintest hint of colour. His heart rhythm grew stronger. Gasps of relief filled the room. Thompson whispered almost in awe. I've never seen precision like that. Jennifer began to close, her sutures clean and flawless. Combat medicine teaches efficiency, she said. You don't have the luxury of mistakes. When the final stitch was tied, she stepped back. Harrison was stable, alive. Thompson stared at her, the weight of what he had just seen written on his face. That was extraordinary. Why are you working as a nurse when you clearly belong here? Jennifer paused, pulling off her gloves. Because when you work combat surgery, sometimes you save lives, and sometimes you don't. And when the ones you don't save are children, the weight is too much to carry. The room went quiet again, but this time it wasn't disbelief. It was respect. Jennifer left the OR, her step steady, though her chest ached with memories she had fought to bury. In the hallway, Thompson called up to her. His voice was low, almost gentle. Whatever happened to you out there, you shouldn't be punished for it. Not when you can save lives like that. Jennifer didn't answer. She walked back toward the nursing station, trying to slip back into the quiet role she had built for herself. But she knew one thing. Nothing would ever be the same again. Jennifer Martinez sat at the small desk in the nursing station, reviewing medication charts. Her hands moved automatically, but her mind was elsewhere. The surgery was over. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison was stable, and yet the words from Dr. Thompson echoed in her ears. That was extraordinary. Why are you working as a nurse when you clearly belong here? For 3 years, she had avoided that question. She had buried it under long shifts, quiet hallways, and the comfort of routine care. But now, the truth had clawed its way back to the surface, pulled out into the open by a man she thought she'd never see again. The station was quiet until Thompson appeared. His face was unreadable, part confusion, part respect, part something heavier. He leaned on the counter, his voice steady. "Nurse Martinez, or should I say Dr. Martinez, we need to talk." Jennifer didn't look up. "There's nothing to discuss. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison is stable. The case is closed. Case closed." Thompson stepped closer, his tone sharper now. "You don't get to brush this aside. What I saw in that operating room, that wasn't just skill. That was mastery. And I want to know why a surgeon like you is hiding behind scrubs marked nurse." Her eyes flicked up, meeting his for a moment. She saw the genuine confusion there, but also something else. Determination. He wasn't going to let this go. Jennifer exhaled slowly. Because surgery means making life and death choices, and I got tired of making the wrong ones. Thompson frowned. "Wrong ones?" "Mosul," she whispered. 3 years ago, a marketplace was hit by a car bomb. 53 children injured, 15 adults, supplies for maybe 25 patients. I had to choose who to save first. I did everything I could. And still, 3 children died. Thompson sat back heavily, as if the weight of her words pressed on him too. "Jennifer, that wasn't failure. That was triage. No one could have saved everyone." "I don't care what you call it," she said, her voice flat. "I call it losing, and I was done playing God, so I walked away." She turned back to the charts, hoping that would end it. But Thompson didn't move. "You're wrong," he said finally. "You didn't walk away. You hid. And today, when it mattered most, you stopped hiding. That man is alive because of you." Jennifer didn't answer. Her phone buzzed on the desk. She frowned, picking it up. The number was unknown. She opened the message. "Dr. Martinez, this is Lieutenant Colonel Harrison. Thank you for saving my life again. But there's something you need to know. Something about Mosul. Meet me in the hospital chapel in 1 hour." Her heart lurched. Mosul. The word itself felt like a blade. She read the message twice, 3 times. Thompson leaned over her shoulder, reading as well. His eyes widened. "Jennifer, you have to go." "I can't," she said quickly. "I can't relive that day." "Maybe you don't have to relive it," Thompson said softly. "Maybe you'll finally understand it." The chapel was quiet when Jennifer entered. The stained glass windows glowed with late afternoon light, casting colours across the empty pews. Lieutenant Colonel Harrison sat in the front, his posture still strong despite the bandages around his chest. "Jennifer," he said when she approached. "Thank you for coming." She kept her arms crossed, her voice tight. "What truth are you talking about? Those children died because I wasn't fast enough, because I wasn't skilled enough." "Number." Harrison turned to face her fully. "They died because you were betrayed." Jennifer blinked. "What?" "The Mosul mission was compromised," Harrison said, his voice hard. "Intelligence knew the marketplace was going to be hit. They knew when, they knew how, and they sent you anyway." Her chest tightened. "That's impossible. Why would they do that?" "Because you were getting too good," Harrison said bitterly. "Too decorated, too visible. A female surgeon outshining senior officers. Some people decided you needed to be humbled." Jennifer stared at him, her breath caught in her throat. "You're saying my own command set me up to fail? I'm saying they put you in an impossible situation knowing you'd blame yourself. They wanted to break you." He pulled a folder from his bag and set it on the pew between them. "It took me 3 years to get clearance to show you this." Jennifer hesitated, then opened it. Her hand shook as she read. Mission briefings, intelligence reports, warnings that had never reached her. The words blurred as her eyes filled with tears. "My God," she whispered. "They knew. They all knew," Harrison confirmed. "You had supplies for 25 patients. You saved 50. That day should be remembered as a miracle. Instead, you walked away thinking you failed." Jennifer shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "But those 3 children, they were already gone when they reached you," Harrison said firmly. "Nothing could have saved them. But you kept going anyway, and because of that, dozens are alive today." The weight she had carried for 3 years pressed down even harder. Yet, it shifted, changed. For so long, the guilt had been hers alone. Now, for the first time, she saw it wasn't hers to carry. Her voice cracked. "So, I've been punishing myself for something I couldn't have stopped." Harrison reached over, covering her trembling hands with his. "You're not just a good surgeon. You're the best the military ever had, and they broke you because they were afraid of how good you were." Jennifer closed the folder, her tears drying into something sharper. Anger. "They buried me," she said, her voice low. "They wanted me erased." "And they almost succeeded," Harrison said. "But today, in that OR, you reminded everyone who you are. You reminded yourself." Jennifer stood pacing toward the chapel window. Sunlight cut across her face as she whispered, "I don't know if I can go back to surgery." "I'm not asking you to," Harrison said. "I'm asking you to stop punishing yourself for crimes you didn't commit. You can choose what comes next, but it shouldn't be hiding." She turned back to him, the fire in her eyes returning for the first time in years. Later in her office, she found Thompson waiting. He gestured to the folder in her hands. "So, you saw the truth about Mosul?" Jennifer sat heavily. 3 years of guilt. 3 years of thinking I was a failure, and it was all built on lies. Thompson leaned forward. "What are you going to do with that truth?" Jennifer looked out the window toward the surgical. "What are you going to do with that truth?" Jennifer looked out the window toward the surgical wing. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Stop hiding." The morning sun streamed through the hospital's new trauma wing, the walls still smelling faintly of fresh paint and disinfectant. Jennifer stood in her new office, a white coat draped over her shoulders. For the first time in 3 years, the embroidery on the chest read her true name. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, Director, Combat Trauma Center. She watched through the observation window as a patient was wheeled into Operating Room 1. Army Sergeant Collins, badly injured by an IED in Afghanistan. The familiar pattern of wounds was clear. Too clear. Jennifer's jaw tightened. She recognized it immediately. Dr. Thompson appeared beside her. "Ready?" he asked quietly. Jennifer pulled her gaze from the window and straightened. "He doesn't have time for hesitation. Let's move." Inside the OR, her team stood ready. Skilled surgeons, nurses, and even a new recruit. Major Eleanor Park, an Army medical liaison sent to help bridge military and civilian trauma care. Their faces were steady, their hands prepared, but their eyes flicked to Jennifer with a mix of awe and trust. Jennifer adjusted her gloves, feeling the familiar pull of muscle memory. "Scalpel," she said, her voice calm. And just like that, she was home. The surgery was brutal. Shards of metal had embedded deep close to vital organs. At one point, a fragment shifted dangerously near an artery, the monitor spiking with warning tones. "Vitals dropping," a resident called out, panic rising in his voice. Jennifer's hands never wavered. Steady pressure. "Suction here. Retractor, now." Her commands were crisp, confident. The room felt quiet as she worked, her focus absolute. The fragment slid free and the monitor stabilized. Relief swept through the team. Dr. Thompson whispered under his mask, "Every time I watch you, I wonder how many lives would have been lost if you had stayed hidden." Jennifer didn't answer. She couldn't. The truth was too heavy to put into words. When the final stitch was tied and the patient stable, Jennifer stepped back. Sergeant Collins would live, and so would the new program she had built. Weeks passed. Word of the hospital's new combat trauma center spread quickly. Veterans arrived from across the country, desperate for someone who understood wounds that civilian doctors struggled to treat. Surgeons with military backgrounds asked for transfers, eager to work under Jennifer's leadership. In 3 weeks, the center had saved 52 military personnel and 14 high-risk civilian cases. Hospitals nationwide were watching, studying, asking for her protocols. For the first time since Mosul, Jennifer felt purpose again. But just as the weight of guilt had once haunted her, now new questions pressed against her chest. Could she keep this going? Could she stop what had been done to her from happening to others? Her answer came sooner than she expected. One afternoon, Dr. Thompson entered her office with a strange look. "There's someone here to see you," he said. "Says it's official military business." A woman in crisp army uniform stepped inside. Her presence commanded the room before she even spoke. "Dr. Martinez," she said, extending her hand. "Colonel Patricia Morrison, Chief of Military Medical Operations." Jennifer's chest tightened. "Colonel..." Morrison's expression was firm, but not unkind. "I'm here about Mosul." The air seemed to vanish from the room. Jennifer forced herself to stand tall. "What about it? The officers responsible for compromising your mission and sabotaging your career have been court-martialed," Morrison said evenly. 3 were dismissed from service. 1 has been sentenced to military prison. Jennifer's hands curled into fists at her sides. So, the truth finally came out. Morrison nodded. "The military owes you an apology and, more than that, an offer." She placed a folder on the desk. "Full reinstatement of rank, command of our new Advanced Combat Medical Division, your choice of assignment, your choice of staff, complete autonomy to build what you see fit." Jennifer stared at the folder, everything she had lost, handed back in one moment. Dr. Thompson spoke softly. "This is what you always deserved." But Jennifer shook her head slowly. "And if I say no?" Then Morrison said, "You continue what you're doing here with full military support, unlimited resources, and the gratitude of every service member whose life you've saved and will save." Jennifer thought of her team, of Sergeant Collins, of the veterans who had come through her doors. She thought of the residents watching, learning, growing stronger, because she shared what she had once buried. She closed the folder and looked up. "Colonel, I appreciate the offer, but I think I'm exactly where I need to be." Morrison's lips curved into a rare smile. "I hoped you'd say that. The military needs advocates on the outside too. People who will fight for military, medicine from beyond the uniform." She saluted Jennifer before leaving. And for the first time in years, Jennifer felt not just respected, but vindicated. That evening, Jennifer made her rounds. Room 412 held Lieutenant Rebecca Wilson, a young Navy medic recovering from her own injuries. She looked up as Jennifer entered. Dr. Martinez, Wilson said quietly, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think I'll ever be able to operate again? Every time I close my eyes, I see the sailor I lost. I freeze up. I don't know if I can do it. Jennifer sat by her bedside, her voice gentle but firm. Yes, you will. Not because you'll forget him, but because you'll carry him with you. Every patient we lose teaches us something. They make us sharper, more determined, more compassionate. That's what makes you a better surgeon. Wilson's eyes filled with tears. Is that what you did with Mosul? Jennifer swallowed hard. For 3 years, I forgot who I was. I let guilt bury me. But now I've learned to carry those losses and let them shape me, not break me. That sailor you lost will do the same for you. Wilson nodded slowly. Thank you, Doctor. Jennifer squeezed her hand, then stood. There was another patient waiting. Another life to save. Down the hall, Lieutenant Colonel Harrison walked toward her, fully recovered, moving with the strength of a man not ready to give up the fight. Dr. Martinez, he said with a smile, how does it feel to be back where you belong? Jennifer thought for a moment. Like I'm finally who I was meant to be. No more hiding, no more pretending. Any regrets about leaving nursing behind? She shook her head. Nursing reminded me that medicine isn't just about skill. It's about compassion. I'll be a better surgeon because I was a nurse. Together, they walked to the operating room doors. Another impossible case waited inside. Jennifer glanced through the window at her team. Already prepped, already trusting her lead. Scalpel, she said as she entered, her voice steady, confident, alive. For 3 years, she had hidden. Now she was finished hiding, and the world was about to remember why they had once called her the best combat surgeon the military had ever produced.